You never choose to fall in love with the enemy or break me in two. Only you get the best of me.
Hi, this is Justin Coletti of Sonic Scoop. Welcome back for more MixCon. And today's MixCon 2020 presentation, we've got Mitch Thomas of Soundtoys, who's going to be walking us through Soundtoys Effect Rack and showing us everything you can do in there. Man, Soundtoys plugins are a lot of fun, some of my favorites in the known universe. Also, Mitch Thomas is a lot of fun. One of my favorite presenters from any of the brands that we work with. If you've never met Mitch at a trade show or seen any of his videos on the Soundtoys channel, you've got to. Dude is tremendous fun and a tremendous bastion of creativity, showing how to use the Soundtoys stuff in just really ingenious ways to kind of quickly rethink, reimagine, even remix songs. In Effects Rack, he's using a ton of stuff. Their Tremolator plugin, Crystallizer, Decapitator, Echo Boy. There's so many plugins there that are just phenomenally useful. And let's face it, in addition to going to conventions like MixCon and seeing the mix walkthroughs from major mixers, it's fun to check out brand workshops, and we're trying to bring some of those as part of this virtual 2020 MixCon. So let's check it out right now. If you want to try out all of the plugins that Mitch is using completely for free with like a 2-week free trial, just go to soundtoys.com, check him out for free there. Let's hand it over to one of my favorite people to see at every trade show I ever go to, Mitch Thomas, going through some Soundtoys plugins. Mitch, take it away.
Hi, Mitch Thomas with Soundtoys here for MixCon 2020 Stay Safe at Home Edition. Today we're going to look at some insider tips for getting more out of your Soundtoys plugins and making you rich and famous. That's not a guarantee, but it pretty much is, even though it's not. So let's. What I've done is I've got some great tracks that I've created some presets for, and we're going to just kind of break down each track and each preset, and each time I'll hopefully have a brand new cool trick that will open your minds and make your creativity blossom. All right, let's move on. Okay, so I'm using this track from MNDR, Amanda Warner, from her first album called Feed Me Diamonds. This track is called Fall in Love with the Enemy. Fantastic tracks. I've just pulled a few stems of it, so it's not the entire track, but you should check it out. You should check out all the music. There's new MNDR music in 2020, so definitely worth a listen. This is the stems that I pulled dry. We're going to listen to that. Okay, and now let's give a listen to the same tracks with the static Effect Rack presets that I made just laid on top. There's no automation, there's no editing, it's just Effect Rack, and see what that sounds like. Here we go.
You never choose to fall in love with the enemy or break me in two. Only you get the best of me.
Okay, so there's some different stuff going on. That's all Soundtoys, all Effect Rack-ish Soundtoys. And let's go dig in, find these tips, because I'll start every section with some cool tips to go with it, and maybe figure out why I made the choices I made. Maybe not. Who knows why I make my choices? Let's dig in. Okay, on this track, this is the kit, or the drum beat. It's basically the full mixed drum beat in stereo. We'll take a listen. And what I want to do is I want to cut that down to basically just a kick drum, just a tiny bit of rhythm, because I want to open this up, and I'm going to start by eliminating their wonderful beat, which is, I'm a terrible person, but I'm going to do that anyway. So how we're going to do that, we're going to do it with Tremolator in Effect Rack. So I'm going to turn Tremolator on and show you what I've already done here, which is we have this beat with this shape. And that's one event. So let's take a look. We've seen this before, but I'll very quickly go through this. So if I switch this over to eighth notes, it's using whatever shape I use in Tremolator ramp down. So, and if I wanted to use square, which is kind of weird sounding. But what I wanted was that little longer bit because I just want to cut a chunk out of it. I'm going to mess with it with delays later. So I'm going to roll this out. You just grab a point and move it out. Actually, I'm going to go customize that a little bit. I'm going to drop a point in there. I'm going to turn the smoothing off and roll this out. So we end up with this shape. But I don't want that many of them. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to go put it in as a half note maybe. There you go. And you can change notes down here at the bottom. All right, easy enough. Now here's something you may not know, and that is you can do multiple bars. You can select the number of bars right here. So what I want to do is I want to have one bar with that little chunk playing, blank, one bar with a chunk, and then the last one with a little flutter at the end. So here's how we do it. I'm going to say I want 4 bars. I'm working on bar 1 right here, so bar 2 I'm going to leave blank. Bar 3 I'm going to toss that one in. And bar 4 I'm going to switch to 16th notes and put some here in the end. Let's see what that sounds like. All right, that's what I wanted. I wanted this wide open space so I could start messing with it. Now, the next trick on this track we've seen before too. It's Filter Freak, and what I've done is I've stacked kind of a resonant stack on it. So I get kind of an 808-ish type of effect underneath that big boom of the kick. Let's just listen to it. So what we've done is we can do band pass or you can do low pass. Here's low pass, there's band pass. You crank up the resonance and you find the frequency that you want to go under your kick. So this is set at 45 right now. And let's see what that sounds like. Cool, yeah, if you don't have headphones or good speakers, you might want to get them. And let's mix that in back behind our track. Without it, with it. It's basically like layering a little 808 tone in behind it. And if you want to go a little further, you can turn a little bit of mod up and use your attack and release to kind of create a little drop in that. So let's see what that sounds like. Okay, the final trick on this track that I want to show is throwing on Echo Boy to add some extra rhythm. So I'm just going to turn it on right now because there's another cool tip in here you may not know about. This is actually, there's a couple cool tips. The first one is going to be looking at decay shaping. That's in our dual mode that we're using right now. What decay shaping does down here on our EQ in the style edit menu is allow you to add more or less of whatever. So if I turn it down, my highs would get darker and darker. And if I turn it up, my highs get brighter and brighter. And go brighter, which is what I want. And that works for all of them. So if you wanted to, you know, I've actually got some kind of resonance going on there in the mid-range that's cranking up as it goes out. Let's listen. So a really cool effect. Now that's only through the feedback, so if you're in something like rhythm mode, which we're getting ready to switch to, you won't get that unless you have feedback turned on your rhythm mode. In this instance, I'm going to turn on rhythm mode because I want a different rhythm on my kick drum. And I'll show you another trick in rhythm mode, even though we won't be using the feedback. All right, this is in the tweak menu, the pan shape. So normally you would hear a rhythm like this. I'm going to turn off all this other stuff. Which is just our delay taps. So it's 8 delay taps. They're all static. They're all in the center. But what I'm going to do is use our pan shapes down here to go through here and find one that's a little more fun. That's fun. Let's try the sweep left. Yeah, there's sweep right, there's just pan that kind of pans around. I think that's the one I kind of like. Yeah, I like that one. Now I'm going to use our decay shaping tool that we've seen before too to shape this out. I could use a decay, which is kind of a straight out. Or reverse. But what I like to use is the non-linear, which is kind of a, not random, but it just gives a cool rhythm to it. Check it out. Okay, so there's some insider tips you may not have known on this patch. We'll move on to the next one and then find some more cool stuff. Okay, so now let's take a look at the bass track and see what we're doing there. Here's the bass track, the original. Okay, so what I wanted to do was open that up a little bit, kind of emphasize the spot, the bottom end, but just in one spot. And let's listen to see how I did that with Filter Freak. So if you're watching the display of Filter Freak here, that's going to be our tip you may not have known. You're like, how are you doing that? One band is decreasing in amplitude and the other one is moving in frequency and looks like something else is going on? That's the secret. Inside the tweak menu here on Filter Freak or Filter Freak 2, which we're using, you actually have mod amounts for the frequency, the resonance, and the level. So that's what's happening there. We have the lower band, which is down here to emphasize the bass in the 80 hertz area, and it's not really moving much in frequency, just a teeny tiny bit downwards. You can have a moving positive or negative. It's so cool that we can have bands going opposite directions. It's a very fun tweak area to play with if you haven't tweaked it before. Get to tweak it. But anyway, so there we go. That's what's happening. So I've lowered the gain on the first bands because it's I've pushed it up in the level mod already so that it will come down, which is what it's doing. And then I've raised the gain in the higher band so it will actually push up. And then I could increase the resonance if I wanted to too. Here we go, let's listen. Or decrease. And let's go the other way with that. Now there's going to be a balancing between setting the mod amount in the tweak menu and your overall mod amount here to kind of get it to do exactly what you want to do, but it's there to have fun with, so have fun with it. Now next, we're going to do a quick little trick that I've done before. It's called my high frequency sizzle trick. I usually do it with Filter Freak, but today I'm doing it with Decapitator. And what I've done is, it's the first one in the chain here, so the bass is going through it. I'm driving the crud out of it. I've rolled off almost all the low end. I've cranked up the tone to bright. So I'm mostly getting high end. I'm going to turn this to wet only and turn this output way down. So So it was mainly the high-end kind of grit. But I'm mixing that in, and let's listen. Here's dry. Mix it in. Just to give it a little bit of an edge there. The next step, we are taking tremolator to cut it up and create a new rhythm again. We've seen that, we've done that. Here's our rhythm using a slightly customized ramp down so it has a longer decay stage. And this is what that sounds like. I'm also pushing it here in the analog style with squash and cranked up the input to give it a little more of a punch in there. Final stage of this is toss on an Echo Boy Jr. with a quick little eighth note dotted delay and a ping pong to add a new delay rhythm on it. I've rolled off most of the lows, and this is what we get on our bass. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the hoo-hoo track. I just love to say that. Let's hear what that is. Okay, I don't know what else you would have called it, but it's awesome. But what I want to do with that track is I want to take the tonal content and create kind of a pad or a wash, then write a new rhythm on top of that and add delay back into it for even more rhythm. So let's start with that. This is a classic trick here with Crystallizer. I'm going to turn this one on, and we've set up kind of a spiraling Crystallizer pad-ish thing. Which is cool. But to me, that's just a little too high. So what I'm going to do is a trick you may not know. I'm going to start by turning this crystallizer back on. And what I'm doing here is adding the fat, wide, low octave from the pitch down right there, preset. So it's actually starting it lower. And so our spiral starts lower, right? Without it. All right, and it doesn't matter if it's a little grungy from two pitch shifters because I'm turning it into a washy pad anyway, right? Right. Stack pitch shifters, it's cool. So now we're going to do our next step, which is classic. We're going to turn on our tremolator, which is cutting it up. We'll look at how it's being cut up. And I have the analog mode in dirt, so I'm cranking the output a little bit, so it's adding a little bit of an edge to it, a little bit of flavor, texture. Filter Freak is doing another rhythmic thing where I'm actually kind of cutting out about half of the riff. I'll just show you how it's working. And that's real simple. I chose 2 bars, I chose ramp up, I chose a high pass filter. Wackadoo. Super easy. And then after that, of course, we would create a little space with Echo Boy using diffused. I don't think I used a preset in there. No, I did, chorus tank bouncer, but I probably messed with it after that to give it a little space like this. Yeah, and if you're not doing it, it's super easy to build these racks using the individual presets. I mean, you know, the filter rhythms are in there. There's tons of presets for each one of the plugins, and they're all accessible inside Effect Rack. The last one was a little bit of mod sauce from Phase Mistress, just to give it a little stereo movement overall. Okay, on to the next one. So this is the horns track. Let's listen. Okay, so what I want to do, once again, I'm trying to make space. So I'm trying to thin things out or change the emphasis, re-rhythm it, typically, as we see with tremolator, and just kind of change the feel, the vibe. Anyway, first thing I did was take Filter Freak and kind of change the vibe by dropping out some of the bottom end on that. So there's emphasis only kind of in one spot. I'm using a high pass filter and a custom rhythm. There you go. Well, it's not really that custom, but here's what it sounds like. So basically just kind of thinning it out, which is what I'm after, is to change the emphasis, right? All right, so let's close that up. Crystallizer, what I'm doing is I'm adding in kind of a split octave thickening to it, just to give it a little, I don't know, depth, beef, character, whatever. Who knows why I do these things, but here's what it sounds like. So we're just mixing a little bit of that in. It's kind of grungy sounding, but it won't matter because I'm getting ready to do what I always do, and that's chop it up with tremolator. Let's see what we got here. All right, so now we've got a much more open thing. You can hear kind of that thickening going on, and then we're going to toss in Echo Boy for a new rhythm on top of that. And let's look inside here, because I think, look at that, we're using our pan that we learned in the trick earlier. Ha! All right, let's hear. And here's something you may not know, that what I've got here, I'm going to save this preset real quick, I think. Bouncy me. All right. And what we have here is a strange rhythm because there's missing bits here, right? And you may not know that you can actually grab the bits and move them around in different time. You can turn them up and down in intensity, amplitude, and create all kinds of new rhythms. Let's see. And you can add a new one by clicking on a spot, and there's another one. Oh, look, another event. Oh, there's another new event. And I think it's option click, if I can click on it, that takes them away. Ha! Neat. Echo Boy rhythm programming. Tricky tips. And you know, mixing all this stuff in with the echoes, with the saturation, same thing on all the plugins, adding in different saturations, different styles, you can get all kinds of creative options going on with all of this stuff. So this next track is called Whoosh Swish, and I chose this track primarily so I could use the preset name Whoosh Worcestershire sauce. Not really. But while that is brilliant, what I really chose it for was to show you some slower rhythmic things that you could do with tracks, and a couple of interesting panning tricks you may not know about. So let's give a listen to the track. That's the track. What are we going to do with that? That's already a cool effect. It is, but I like to mess things up. So let's turn the Worcestershire sauce on and see what it does. Here we go. All right. But you're like, hey, there's panning going on. Mitch, how are you doing that? I know Phase Mistress has some panning tricks because you showed that to us before. That's true. But Phase Mistress is not really doing it. What's doing it? Why, it's Tremolator down here. Let's go listen. I'm going to turn off all these other plugins and listen. And here it is in the tweak menu. I'm going to show you where it comes from. It's the width control here. It offsets the two channels, so you end up with panning effects. Now that's a cool panning effect because I'm doing a slow ramp up and getting this effect. But there's another cool effect you can do with the width turned all the way up, and that's kind of stereoizing to a track maybe that doesn't have, like a mono track. If you put tremolator on it, you can go use this trick to kind of stereoize it. And this is it. You turn on fast. I'm going to turn it to ramp down, and I'm going to turn it to something much faster, like 16th notes. And you could switch waveforms. There's all sorts of, if you want it to not be quite as dramatically like punchy. All right, that's two different kinds of panning things you could do with the width mode. And if you listen to it, it's very, very different. It's a totally different effect from. There's no width, and then we turn it all the way back up again. So lots of fun panning effects and fun to be had with Tremolator that you might not have known about. The rest of this patch, I think we know most of these things. We've seen me pull them off before. There's a little Phase Mistress sauce in there. I'm brightening it up a little bit with CQ because we're going to run it through the chain here, and just wanted to stick out a little bit more. Microshift is spreading it out nice and wide. No mix going on. And then here we go. But again, primarily just for that preset name because it was so awesome. Okay, so this last trick, I've shown it before. If you missed it, it's a cool trick. It's good to know from Soundtoys. It's called parameter lock. What's parameter lock, Mitch? I'm going to tell you. It allows you to lock a parameter and scroll through presets without that parameter changing. That's super handy because if you're using a little plate, you might want to lock it to a partially mixed setting because they all come up wet. In this case, I'm going to lock the mix control on Effect Rack. The way you do that is press Control Option, click. On a PC, it's in the manual. I don't use PC, so I don't know. It's along those lines. But now my mix control is locked. You see it turned red up here, and I'm going to roll this back to dry. Let's see. Let's look. I can scroll through presets without the mix changing. That's really cool. What I'm using it for here is kind of a remix trick. I'm going to roll in a couple of these rhythmic presets that I've created as kind of breaks or rhythmics, and that can be automated and done in the mix. So here we go.
Tear me down, tear me away. Oh, to fall in love with the enemy and break me into. Oh, only you get the best of me.
So that was a quick tip, but fun and cool and useful. I'd like to thank everyone for attending or watching or whatever it is we do now in this day and age of what is going on. But I had a blast. I hope you learned something. If not, rewind. Maybe there's something in there. And I will hopefully see you all in person next time. Thank you.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that presentation, that workshop from Mitch Thomas going through Soundtoys Effect Rack. If you want to try out any of that stuff totally for free, just go to soundtoys.com where you can download a 2-week free trial. We're going to be bringing you more workshops as part of these MixCon 2020 presentations, so definitely stay tuned for more. And if you haven't seen it already, check out the masterclass that Soundtoys sponsored from Jimmy Douglas, amazing living legend of music production. I'll link to that here in the show notes and at the end of the video. Thanks for hanging out with me. This has been Justin Coletti of Sonic Scoop. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notifications bell to make sure you don't miss any more MixCon videos. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you next time.